All right, so I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Hugo Gonzalez. Thanks for joining us. This is UV Academy Connect. This may be our last Academy Connect. We are going to be working on a new Mimaki University platform. So keep an eye on that events page on mimakiusa.com/events. We'll put that in the chat shortly. Keep an eye on that because it will we'll be advertising our classes. Currently, we have a lot of classes, including Rasterlink. We have these academies that are in the future going to include all of our segments. So we're going to have SG, so sign, roll-to-roll machines, solvent machines, and our TA section, doing textiles or DTF for textiles or direct to fabrics, those kinds of machines, and hopefully including our big boys like the Tiger and the maybe a special episode on the JFX 600, just like this one. So today we're here to talk about the UJV 300 DTF 75. This is our first, application dedicated machine on the UV side. This is, strictly for UV transfers. And today we're going to talk about how to set up some files. We're going to talk about some of the new features that we've actually rolled out since it came out last year. And then we're going to also talk about some of the products that we sell along with it and the UV-DTF film. And we'll be also talking about how to handle it, how to, actually put those applications onto your materials or put the graphics on there. So today we have Joel Thomas joining us. He's the camera with the printer currently printing, and he'll be going over the first section, talking about some things about Job Creator and how to set up some of the jobs. And then James Hughes will be talking more of the actual application side, and he's joining us from Dallas. So I will, I'm going to turn off my camera and I'm going to let Joel take it off to start us off.
I'm going to play a video that Lewis made.
Hi, I am Lewis Jones with Mimaki USA. My job is to make it easier for you to understand the different features and programs that print operators should be using with our printers. Today, that means talking about Job Creator. So, what is Job Creator? It is a Mimaki engineered software that works with Rasterlink 7. It's a plugin that lets you save presets based on previous jobs. Now, these presets will have all of your print information. So your resolution, your pass count, how you made your file, how you arranged your layers, even how you created your special plates like your white or your clear layers. The good news is if you've updated your RIP software like you should be doing every few months, you already have Job Creator on your computer. Just click a button inside Rasterlink and a new window will pop up. Starting a new file on new material takes a lot of trial and error and testing. We want to limit the amount of testing that you have to do on future jobs. Say you're a business that only makes stickers on the same material every day. With Job Creator, all you have to do is make one perfect sticker file and then use that as a base for all of your future jobs. This cuts down your printing time in half by eliminating all future testing and the times that you're checking if your resolution or profiles are correct. Let's continue with the sticker example that I brought up. Once I have the perfect sticker file for me, with my layers combined and the perfect resolution and profile selected, I'm going to go into my Backup tab and save all this print information into one file. Then, all I need to do is open up Job Creator. Press Create, and select the file that I saved before. This will open up a new window for this preset. I'm going to write out my printer information here so that I know what settings are in this file in the future, and press Save. Now, whenever I want to make a new sticker file, I'll just click on these settings, press Next, and load in my printer information here. Now I have a preset for all of my stickers going forward, and anytime I want to make a new sticker, I'll select my preset, go to Next, and then load my sticker information here. If I press Create, a new file will be loaded into Rasterlink, ready to print.
Okay, so that was Lewis. He's actually over in Japan right now. But this brings up an interesting point that I wanted to make, and that is all of our training videos, like the one you just saw with Lewis, are always shared on our YouTube channel and available so that you could go back and catch up on anything that you missed. A lot of times, if you just have a simple technical question, it might be quicker to do a quick YouTube search than to call in for tech support. Obviously, tech support's always there for you. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that we do always have those videos on YouTube for you. Now I just wanted to, let me share my screen again. I just wanted to basically take you through the same concepts that Lewis just went through on the video. Here's a file that I have. It's actually the one that's been printing, a business card file. And one thing that we wanted to highlight today was actually a second surface application. So we are going to mirror our image. We go into our layout. You can see that this image is mirrored. I'm printing it 3 up with 1 inch in between. Currently, I am printing clear, color, and white. I also have an image set up that I'm going to show an example of later that is clear, color, clear. So that would give you a transparent look for your application. So if you're putting something on a glass or something like that, you would be able to see through the ink. And obviously that could be done first or second surface. The only reason you would need to mirror it would be for the second surface application. So I have my file, and just as an example of how Job Creator works, I'm going to take a look at this file right here. This one's not printing anymore, so I'll take a look at this. And I want to go over and look at my specialty layers. And you'll see that for my white, I am thinning it by 2 pixels. For my clear, I'm actually thickening it by 2 pixels. What that does is it basically creates a flood coat of the clear ink, which helps give the sticker a little bit more rigidity when you're going to place it. And the reason I thin my white is because it's very noticeable if for some reason your alignment is not perfect, if that white is sticking out. And I would do this whether I'm doing just color white or doing a first surface application where it's clear, color, and white, a 5-layer application where there's white in the middle, all sorts of things like that. This is, this is not specific to the UV-DTF. This is just Rasterlink. But the interesting thing about this is all of these settings here are saved into that preset. So if I go to Job Creator and I select the white color clear that I made earlier before the meeting, now I'm going to add in my image, and I'm just going to grab one of my other images that I have out here. Now, this is the part that I don't think Lewis's video, I don't think he was actually hooked up to a printer, so he was limited as what he could do. But in order to get Job Creator to accept this image, you actually just drag it over to one of your layers, and you can see they all become blue. That basically means all of them have been applied. You can see I have my special plate, valid pixel for white, special plate, valid pixel for clear. If I say create, it's just telling me that it's sending the job over to Rasterlink. And you can see here in the background, the Rasterlink image has come in. And it has populated over here. And I have my valid pixel white and my valid pixel clear. If I look at this image and I go over here, you can see it has retained my thinning for my white and my thickening for my clear. One advantage of Job Creator over using the standard favorites that has always been in Rasterlink is Job Creator allows you to control both spot colors in the same fashion that favorites would only allow you to control one in the past. So normally we could have done this where it automatically added the white valid pixel and put it underneath. but then there was, using the favorites, there was no way to also have it do the clear. You can now do both with the job creator function, which is a big advantage. I lost my train of thought, but I think that's all I wanted to say here.
Okay.
Let me quit sharing here real quick, and I will show you what I had printed earlier, just so as an example. So this is a second surface print on acrylic. So I have applied the sticker to the backside of acrylic, second surface. It's the same thing that was printed earlier. You can see that it's white there, and that's because it's printing clear color white for second surface application. But then I also did one that is over on the side here, clear, color clear. So you can see when I put it over a dark background, the white color clear, you can see the color, but the translucent effect of the clear color clear goes away. So if this were some sort of glass or something where you wanted to be able to see through it, you could do the clear color clear. And that allows the rigidity of the sticker to still be, so that you can still apply it if you don't want that fully opaque appearance from the white ink. Any questions on what you've heard so far?
All right, Joel. We do actually have a question in the chat, and I am going to read that one to you. Sorry, my chat's not coming up. So Brian asks us if there is a trick to getting job creator jobs to delete when you don't need them anymore. It says that he deletes his, but they stay on his list. Actually, I'll help Joel answer this one.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's, actually, if you wouldn't mind doing a screen share with your job creator again, there should be a delete option in the info tab.
Let me go down to the one that I made because.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh yes, there's the delete button there.
So I'm assuming Brian says that if he goes delete here, that it still shows up on his list. Info, please select the template. Okay.
So let me see if I go back in there, if that did it. It has gone away.
It is gone. Okay. So Brian, if your system is for some reason not removing it from this list, there might be an interaction with Windows that sometimes needs to, that might be hindering it. Sometimes, the Windows needs to be updated, or sometimes, make sure that you're on the latest software for the rash link, and that should clear it up. But if
the
there
other
isn't,
thing that might be happening is if you're trying to delete one of the defaults that comes from Mimaki, it might be that it disappears, but since it's a default, that it stays. I'm not sure if you're trying to delete one of the ones that Mimaki sends or not. There is also one other thing that I wanted to mention with Job Creator that I'll just go through real quick here. If I bring in this job and I just bring over one copy, it has created these layers here. But say that I want to do a second file with the same application. If I do not close Job Creator and I drag my second image over to here, it is going to use the clear layers, top and bottom, from that first image. So if you're doing multiples, the first time you bring it over, it's going to populate all your layers. But on this example where I have a second one, I will actually need this. I will have to drag this to both of those layers for the valid pixel to take place from the second file.
correct, yes. If you drop a color file in the color layer, it will automatically populate both the top and the bottom.
The advantage of that is if you specifically wanted, say you're doing a watermark or something, you are able to drop in a different file to your valid pixel special color files, and then it would basically overprint on top of your CMYK. So there is an advantage to being able to put different files on your different layers. I just wanted to make people aware that by default, if you bring in a second image, and if you back all the way out of Job Creator and go back in there, it's not going to remember what was there before. But if you're just bringing in a second image, you need to populate all the layers that are available.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. We're also getting a request to do, if you wouldn't mind zooming into Rasterlink, into the icons a little bit. Someone's asking if we could do a step-by-step on putting clear color clear for like a logo.
Let me bring in a file. So there's my file, and if I go over to Special Plate, I have my clear layer set to 100. I'm going to pick valid pixel, and I'm going to say create. I could either do that a second time, or I can highlight this layer and say duplicate. Now, if I select all three of these layers and go to composite and just put my color in between.
Do you just click and drag?
Yes, I just clicked and dragged to move my layers around. So they don't have to be in order over here. They will reorder once you say composite. And now with that still selected, if I go to my special layers tool, I have the ability to correct the size here, and I would pick on that other layer to correct the size there. So in this case with clear color clear, I would actually thicken both layers. One thing that did take me a little bit of time to get used to in Rasterlink compared to the choke and spread and some other rips is normally you don't have thickening and thinning, you just have choke and spread. So if you wanted it thinned, this would be a negative number. Rasterlink does not work that way. So you cannot go below 0. So if you want to reduce the amount that it's doing, you just click from thickening to thinning. And now this actually, in my mind, becomes a negative number because you're reducing it by that number of pixels. But maybe I'm just crazy.
So in this case, you would thicken it by 2 pixels.
Correct. I would thicken both of these, which is basically going to encompass the entire sticker.
Okay. Are there any advantages to thickening the pixels?
Yes. What it does is because the clear ink that we use is the 100 series, that is a harder ink. And that's also why you always basically have to sandwich the color between either clear or white, is because the white and clear are the 100 series, which is it's a harder ink and it is stiffer, whereas the CMYK is the 170 ink, which has some less rigidity to it. So it's the best of both worlds. It gives you a sticker that is easier to apply with that rigidity of the outside coatings, but the flexibility of your CMYK sandwiched between them. Yeah. So basically, you're encompassing that that CMYK by overprinting the clear ink a little bit.
Okay. And for those of you who've joined us for other UV Academy events, you probably know that LH100 is what we use to create Braille signage also. So, you know, really high solvent resistance, really high scratch resistance. So it definitely increases durability of your prints. If someone wanted to print like a clear effect or a white effect, I know that technically our Job Creator doesn't work like that, but are there any ways that they could do it?
Certainly, we could go in just as an example of this. Well, let me unarrange this here file. So the way that you could do more of a muted tone would be when you make your special plate, you have the ability here to determine how much white that you want. So if you were to come in here and do a 10% white and say valid pixel, it's going to just give you a little bit less, or quite a bit less opacity, but a little bit of opacity if that complete see-through effect is a little bit more than what you wanted. Ideally, 100% is what we would recommend on clear if you're doing gloss. If you're doing matte, you're probably fine somewhere down around 70, 75%. And then the white has quite a bit to do with opacity. So if you're looking for that really opaque look, you definitely want to be at 100. But you could get away with like 75% white density too, and that would probably give you the opacity. Of course, Mimaki would prefer that everyone always use 100 because we sell ink. But you know, depending on the effect that you want, you can dial back that white for opacity's sake.
Okay. I mean, speaking of dialing back opacity, you know, LH100 is our rigid ink. So if you put it down at 100%, you know, it's going to be a little tougher to work with. It's not going to go around corners as easy. What are some ranges that you would recommend as far as, you know, working with the ink and why? You know, when would you use a different percentage?
Well, as the example that you gave there, certainly if you're just applying it to a flat surface like the sample that I showed, it is easier to have it be a more rigid sticker. If you're doing something large, you might also want it to be a little bit more rigid so that it's not flopping and folding over in on itself when you're trying to apply it. But then obviously if you're doing something that is going on a really sharp curve, like a 90-degree angle or something like that around the outside of a box, you do want it to remain a little bit more flexible. So that's when you would want to cut down those the white layers so that the design contains a little bit more flexibility going around the corners. Right. Really complex three-dimensional shapes, you'd also want to do that.
Yeah, and when Joel says go around the corner, he does mean a rounded corner. We can go down to as sharp as an 1/8 inch radius corner with this ink. All right. If there aren't any other questions, I am going to ask James to present his application side knowledge to us. Thank you. That's good.
Thank you for watching today. We're going to jump right into a quick look at applying UV-DTF transfers using the UJV300 DTF75 from Mimaki. These clear award blanks are awesome. You can find them online on Amazon or any other supplier. What really makes them great is that you can just completely pull the protective slide and it will reveal the actual surface that you don't really need to clean. You can clean them if you want. Cleaning always isn't necessary, of course. If you've handled the piece a lot, you want to get any dust or debris off, it never hurts to give it a quick wipe. You can really just jump right in. My personal preference is placing the prints down so the top edge of the graphic is parallel to the top edge of the piece. Even when working freehand, taking a moment to visually line it up just really helps you use those top edges, gives you a clean and professional result. If you really want to be fast and consistent, a simple alignment guide can really make that repeating placement situation a lot easier. Nice thing about UV-DTF is once the transfer is positioned correctly, the application itself is pretty straightforward. The key here is to really control the pressure and making sure the entire design makes good contact with the acrylic. The main goal here is to just maintain a consistent amount of pressure and a really smooth peeling angle so the transfer separates cleanly from that carrier film. I personally like using a small handheld squeegee like this one. It's not required, but it does help evenly apply pressure across the film. It pushes out any air across the adhesive and make sure that you have plenty of contact with the surface. From one side to the other across the graphic, you want to keep as steady as possible, applying pressure so the film lays down smoothly. Depending on the type of transfer film you're using, the peeling process can be a little bit different, but most of them are pretty much the same. Some can require a slower peel. Other printed layers really makes it easy to peel it off. Once the film is removed, you're left with the finished UV print adhered directly to the acrylic surface. From here, these blanks can be assembled into the final ward pieces. One thing I've noticed is that the design of the graphic itself can affect the transfer. If you have really thin lettering and fine details, extremely small, amazing shapes, it does help to peel a little bit more slowly, keep the film low to the surface as you pull it back. On the other hand, thicker graphics and solid shapes tend to release a lot more easy. You can clean them up a little bit. It does help to trim the outside and work with it a little bit to make sure that it looks really good. Once you get comfortable with the process, UV-DTF becomes a really fast and reliable way to decorate acrylic. You can do pieces like these awards and beyond. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully this gives you a quick look on how simple and effective this workflow can be.
Thank you, James. Sorry for the technical difficulties. It always kind of makes it exciting to have to do something like that live. So in the application, and you kind of hinted that, the material does make a difference, what you're adhering the DTF transfer to. Those like some of the differences to kind of watch out for, or maybe some of the effects that the design might have on that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to have a solid piece, it's obviously going to be a lot easier to peel just really cleanly off. I almost, in a lot of cases, recommend to customers to put a bubble around, any thin lettering, or try to make the design approachable in like blocks. But obviously, not everybody's going to want that. You're going to see different types of applications on different materials. But keep in mind, that is what's going to dictate a lot of how you handle that particular situation. Metal is going to pull differently than acrylic. Thick letters versus thin letters. You have to be, almost detailed in every single separate print, and even different films, but not so much. You really just have to pay attention to the speed of it based on the surface and how much coverage your actual ink has.
Okay. And do you know how small of a line you can get, or how small of text?
I've had
this is kind of a loaded question because it is depending on the media itself.
Right. I have some awesome examples that I always keep here, like at the shop, just to show people, hey, it is almost unbelievable. Is it insanely harder to work with when you're using a really thin, less than 2-point line? Yeah. But ultimately, there are a lot of applications where it can work out. Some of those, especially that little flowers on those tins, they can be a pain, but you get the hang of it. It's not impossible. It only takes less than a minute or sometimes 20 seconds to just do an entire tin. You can really breeze through it once you get the hang of that workflow. But it does help every little bit you can, thickening stuff and making it a little bit more of an advantage, so you don't have a pile of stuff that maybe didn't work out as you're producing.
Yeah, so and things like acrylic, it is considerably easier to adhere, especially something flat, it's very easy to adhere. So we are able to go down to, I think, a 0.5 line on flat stuff like acrylic. But like those tins that James was showing us, those are hard to handle. I mean, they're maybe 2 inches. I had one on my desk, but it walked away today. They're only about 2 inches tall. So just handling it, being able to pull the film off can be a little bit more difficult. So we do recommend something a little thicker, like if you're going up to a full point on line work. And that, certainly helps a lot. Part of it is the shape, and part of it is the material itself. Depending on the material, it will also, make it easier or more difficult to apply.
I like to have little practice items, maybe like a big thing that I can. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this really oddly looking. It's like a paddle, I guess, but it's like just a piece of wood that I think that's good to have something to do a couple practice runs on. Even though it may be different material, you'll still understand that the design itself and that particular A roll is going to have particular preference in pulling it, and don't start on your first item. You want to save those blanks for when you're ready to go.
Yeah. I noticed in the video that you're using squeegee to apply this. Are there any tools that are actually required for this?
Yeah, what is really exciting is that we live in like the most resourceful time ever, where you can, for probably like $5 to $10, order a kit on Amazon or wherever to get all sorts of fun little tools and stuff. You'll see some fancy stuff floating around with little rolls and stuff. I really like these plain squeegee looking handles. It's almost like you can get these in bulk really cheap and cost efficiently, but they last a really long time as well. So I kind of scatter them every time I need one. They just so happen to pop up. But a lot of people will have certain preferences or workflows that they're comfortable with, and a lot of that really works well with what you're going to be doing with UV-DTF.
Awesome. Is there any heat required, or would you recommend it?
I've heard, but I've never personally needed to use any heat. I feel like rubbing it with your hand and getting your body warmth on there is enough. You don't have to actually use a heat gun in any case I've wrapped all sorts of fun stuff, from dirt bikes to, BMX little stickers. I still have some of these UV decals on my truck that have been on there and getting beat up by the Texas sun for about 8 months now, and they still look okay. I'm not scratching at them every day or anything, but it definitely, it has versatility like that.
Yeah, awesome. I am going to go a little bit into the testing and durability in the next section, but is there anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think testing is a big part of it, and having kind of your surface set up. I tried to not really go over that in the video, but stress that, you want to have all your supplies handy. You want to be able to quickly move from this to that and kind of have your prep work done beforehand, because it goes a long way. Having alcohol and having wipes and stuff may not seem like you need it until you need it, and you're just like, oh, wait, I need a rag with a little pss, pss on it. So yeah, definitely good to be prepped for all that stuff.
Awesome. All right, thank you, James. And for the last section, I'm just going to talk about this guide that I put together that you will receive. You have access to with the machine, because some of you might know, we sell our own UV-DTF material, and we want to provide a complete system. We make the inks, we have our media, and of course the machine. So we provide a whole ecosystem that is OEM, Mimaki created. So we do have the A and B film, and let me show you a picture. For those of you who are not familiar with the printer setup, we have two different materials that are laminated in the front. The back roll has a liner that protects the adhesive layer. So on the back side, we have two rollers, and one of them, is just a take up for the adhesive layer. And on the front side, we feed the laminating, the application layer or the laminating layer. So with pressure and heat on the printer itself, it will, laminate the sheets, and then, of course, it has a take-up roll to take up your printed product. So that's why there's two different rolls, and these are sold as sets from Mimaki. These have been tested very, very rigorously, and as James and I talked about, you are able to print down to a 0.5 line with these, and we saw that on some materials, it resisted up to between 40 and 50 dishwasher washes. But this is going to vary by material due to their, their heat resistance or heat shock characteristics. For example, glass does expand very, micro movements with heat and intense cold temperature changes. Something like metal is going to move a little bit less, and something like ceramic doesn't really seem to budge at all. So we do see that for a lot of applications, if it's done on ceramic, it has a really long life on for like dishwasher resistance and things like that. So we did see some minor damage between 40 to 50 washes, but overall it still had really high resistance. Like you're just kind of starting to see a little bit of wear on it. For polypropylene glass, which is notoriously difficult to print on directly, across the industry, it's one of the most difficult products to print on, or materials anyway. This adhesive actually works really well, and we were seeing line work stay intact until about wash number 40. At that point is when you started to see the finer lines and smaller letters kind of start to show wear and tear. And it wasn't a complete failure. It was just you could just tell that it's starting to show wear and tear. Maybe the alignment's not perfect anymore. Like if the glue started to show a little bit of damage because the material stretches and buckles a little bit every time you heat it up that hot. So you'll find all of this in the guide. It gives you kind of a step-by-step how to load it, how to unload it. We have little animations showing, how the material is going to go, how it joins up the front. But honestly, once you do it once, you'll be doing it really fast. You get used to it really quickly. In this, I'm also including all of like our recommended temperature settings. For this one, we do actually recommend the full heat that the printer is capable of, which is 158 Fahrenheit, 70 degrees centigrade. This allows the ink to have a really good bonding with the adhesive. And it also, helps you reduce any bubbles in the laminate, just so you have a more clear image. If you're selling like the sticker sheet on its own as a product, you want the most clear look without much bubbles. And something that James kind of covered a little bit in the video is that you do want to peel the liner at a sharper angle, and this allows you, especially with the one, higher density clear and white, this allows the image to be just a little bit more stable. It's not going to try and flex with the liner. But even though it has that rigid ink, you are able to print over curves. For example, like this one that I showed here, you are able to print over curves fairly easily. Let me center that. So this shape, this is some objet art that we found on Amazon, and we just thought it was perfect for these kind of graphics. So we're able to put text over the whole thing, showing, that this is really where this machine is going to excel, is, printing products that you're not able to do direct on a flatbed. And one thing I wanted to touch on for required products, we do highly recommend this OLFA cutting tool, because when you put the liner on the machine, or when you put the film on the machine, you have that exposed adhesive. So you want to be as careful as possible with that adhesive, because you don't want to get it stuck to the heads. You don't want to get it stuck anywhere else in the machine. So you do load it with the liner, and then once it's loaded on the roll, you take this knife and you cut the liner off without cutting the adhesive layer. So I mean, you're talking about fractions of a millimeter, or mils, I guess, in this case. So you do want to be able to cut just the thin layer on the top surface. So this knife, this cutting tool that I'm showing on the screen is available on Amazon. I'm not making any money off of this. It's not something that we sell, but it's a really good tool to cut the liner layer without cutting the film itself. So it's something to definitely consider if you're working with DTF products, or you know, if you have in a case where you need to cut the liner without cutting any part of the film. So again, this guide is available through any of the dealerships, and it'll be available through any of our sales team. You certainly just ask for it. We may put it as well on our resources page on mimakiusa.com. All right, we do have another question. Yes, the question is, you know, in the video we showed a front laminated logo. We're actually, in the video was maybe a little bit difficult to see, but the logo was actually printed second surface reverse. So he actually did put it on the backside. So as Joel showed in the first video, you are able to reverse the order of the clear and the white layers. So you can do a complete second surface image that you can put behind the glass to show through. So you know, so in this case, you could do both effects in one award. You could print a background that's second surface printed, and then if you wanted to put the name on the front, that's, you know, first surface printed, you know, to give it, you know, more of a depth effect. But we will have these videos on YouTube, so you can follow Joel's example to do the second surface print. And in that case, he also did an example for clear front and back. So you could basically do it either way. You could either show that second surface or first surface.
And you could do a lot of really cool effects too, where you do your second surface with the white color clear, and then you do first surface with just clear color clear. And depending on the thickness of the acrylic or something that you're doing, it would have that shadow effect. Obviously, there's going to be some effort to make sure your design's lining up front to back, but I think you could do some really cool effects that way.
Yeah. Okay. And then we did have another question, which has been answered, but I'll just put it on the air. Is if the heaters need to be on 24/7. There are timers on the heaters, so the printer already has preset shutdown sequences. So if you stop printing within 5 minutes, what it's going to do is actually bring the pinch rollers up, because you don't want them just sitting in the same spot of glue for, you know, an extended period of time, because then you might kind of gum up the pinch rollers a little bit. And that just brings up a good point. Just a reminder that those pinch rollers do need to be wiped down there's a reminder on the machine itself, but I believe it's every couple rolls. They recommend that you kind of wipe them down with alcohol, just so that, you know, you can remove any adhesive. But with that shutdown sequence, it also should be shutting off the heaters. If it's not shutting off the heaters automatically, then you go into the user settings, and in the user settings, it'll have a timer available. Okay, so you're saying, so yeah, so for the heater settings, if you search in the manual for sleep timer, I believe it's called, it'll show you, it's a setup menu function where it'll just give you the option to just shut stuff down, you know, after a certain time of usage. So if you can tell it to do, I believe, anywhere between 1 minute and an hour for it to shut off the heaters. No problem. If there's any other questions, you can certainly email us at info. I'm gonna give you the wrong one. In the chat, we'll put the email, but we do have an info line, info.mimaki. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can get that before we. All right, I'm going to put it in the chat. usa.info@mimaki.com. You can email us there, and we will kind of direct it to the proper person to answer any questions. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you for joining us. Glad to have everyone here. And if we have the email address, if you have any additional questions that come up, feel free to send us a message. Thank you.
Real quick, that setting is under menu and setup. And then you pick the setup you want. And then there's a heater button. And then off time, ours is set to 10 minutes. So it's already cooled down from the video. So just so you know, that's where the timer is for the heater.
All right. Thank you.